Welcome to the 4 Mile Circus podcast. 4 Mile Circus is an independent media services company based in Brooklyn. My name is Sean Mannion. I'm a partner in 4 Mile Circus and co-host of the show.
And I'm Nicole Solomon. I am the other half of 4 Mile Circus and the other co-host of this show.
What? Well, that's all the co-hosts.
Okay, yeah.
That's all of us.
I didn't know if you're looking at me like I should introduce our guest.
No. We'll take care of that. Just a quick note, if you're in New York City, join us Saturday, January 28th for our social media and crowdfunding strategies and realities workshop at 1 p.m. at Videology. You can learn more about the event at 4milecircus.com/workshops. And this is part one of our interview with the multi-talented artist Hye Yun. In this episode, we'll discuss her work and social media. But before we get into that, Nicole, do you have a tip?
I do. I have a social media tip.
That's awesome.
Let's see. So, considering that it's now the future when this airs, not when we're recording it, and we have time traveled into 2017. Everyone followed that, right? That
yeah, and if
totally
2017 didn't come, then you're probably not listening to this.
Fair point. So, the new year is a good time to get your social media game on point, correct past mistakes, and build a more engaged audience in general. So this tip is kind of about making New Year's resolutions about social media. So some resolutions you might want to make, and you're allowed to make them even if this is after January 1st. It's still the new year, fresh start. Do some new stuff. For example, if you are looking to expand your audience, you can resolve to follow 1 or 5 or 25, but please not more than 25 new targeted accounts every single day. It's a good habit to get in. Just every day, follow some new accounts, up to 25, that you think might be interested in you. And then you should unfollow inactive or non-reciprocal followers every 2 weeks or so using a third-party app. Just go through and unfollow people who aren't following you back or people who haven't posted in 6 months or whatever. There are apps that help you do this, like Crowdfire and other things. And it's just a simple best practice. Make it a habit in 2017 if you're trying to expand your audience. You can also resolve to be more social. Just, take time to read and respond to your timeline without plugging your own stuff. Just take some time to be on social media, seeing what other people are saying and interacting with their content. It doesn't have to be all about you all of the time. And relatedly, you can resolve to take a deep dive into groups and hashtags to see what's out there that's relevant to your work and your project and get out there and join the conversation. You can resolve to start using Twitter, Facebook, and or Instagram analytics and actually track that data. All of these platforms give you a lot of information about what you're posting, who's interacting with it, how much, when, where, all of that. You can make a spreadsheet, and actually see, this content got a good reaction. What time of day was it? What platform was it on? Was there a image? Was there not? Any other factors that you're trying to see how they actually work? Start a Google Doc or an Excel sheet or whatever it is and actually, start capturing that data and find out, get scientific with it. You can also resolve to engage sustainably and practice self-care. That's a really important one now and forever. And I'm sure in the beginning of 2017, that's going to be a real important one. And what I mean by engaging sustainably and practicing self-care is in part realize your limits, take breaks, step away. If you have other people you can turn to with your project, do what Sean and I do all the time and just ask the other person to take the wheel for a little bit if you need a break. You can block and mute people who are jerks or just annoying noise because you do not owe random assholes your attention. You can take the apps off your phone temporarily or permanently if that's helpful and possible for you. And just generally think seriously about what's really possible. I said, take them off your phone if it's possible. And you might think oh, that's not possible for me though, because I, use social media professionally and I need to be able to check it on the bus. Do you really though? Is it weighing you down? Is it stressing you out? Is it really worth being able to check social media every time you're on the bus to have it on your phone? Or might it be better to keep it something that you do when you're only sitting in front of your computer to work? Sean, do you have something to say about that? You're leaning towards the mic.
I mean, we do social media stuff, and I took most of mine off, right after the election, and I've only put back on Twitter and Instagram. So yeah.
Life goes on.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Life goes on, and we still have a social media presence because,
Exactly.
yeah, so just think seriously about what's really possible, what you really need to do, not just this feeling of like, should that I have all the time. Oh, I should be checking this constantly. I should, it's a trap. It's not good. It's like, we all need to take care of ourselves, and being constantly plugged in can be extremely draining. And as Sean and I have both been saying a lot recently, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And you want to be in it for the long haul. We want to stay connected to you for the long haul. We want you out there expressing yourself and doing your work for the long haul. So protect yourself. And those are a few resolutions you might want to make. Most of them are obviously aimed at like expanding your audience and like improving your engagements. But that last one about self-care is probably the most important one to my mind. So yeah, that's my social media tip for the episode. It was kind of long.
That's okay. I tuned it out.
Cool. You guys weren't listening, right?
I was. It was very rich and thorough.
Thank you. I'm sorry you didn't use the time to take a nap, because that's another thing we probably all need.
I'm fine. I have coffee.
I'm going to be coughing throughout today. Like, well, I'll try to like...
That's okay.
Yeah.
I'll turn on the coughing filter.
Boop, beep, boop, boop.
I'll go, yeah.
Beep, beep, boop. It's we have to keep Sean on his
Yeah.
toes with the editing.
Exactly.
So perfect.
Social media, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, our guest this episode is Hye Yun Park, and for those people who don't know you and your work, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what kind of projects you've worked on over the last couple of years?
Yeah, sure. I'm an actor, writer, and filmmaker, and an occasional erotic clown performer. I came to New York about 10 years ago to become an actor, and I started writing material for myself about 5 years ago now. So the last few years has been about, I made a web series called Hye Yun. I made 2 seasons of it, and I just finished post-production on a new web series called BKPI, which Nicole here worked as art director. And Sean participated as well. So yeah, I just kind of go around New York City, trying to find opportunities to act and create stories.
Cool. Yay.
So, tell us a little bit about the Hye Yun web series. It's not just like so many web series are.
There's
Somebody in there. There's so many, but there's so many that are like, oh, it's me and my roommate and our kooky like fights over the shower or something like that.
Yeah, oh, that sounds actually fun.
Well, you should do that.
You can steal that. That's free.
But like what sort of was your? I think Hye Yun, the series is narratively interesting coming from your perspective of being in New York. What kind of stories were you telling in there? Why?
Yeah. Let's see. So I made a short film called Sumi prior to making the web series, and it was a long year, or longer than a year, of labor of love, and it was great. And we were my producing partner at that time and I were submitting to film festivals, and it was great. But I got really frustrated at how limiting that festival circuit can be to just get your work seen. And now I know a lot more festivals and a lot better ways of connecting with people. At that time, it was all new for me, so it was just like, oh my God, what's all this submission fee and all this like work? And then even when you get in, you can't share it with other people until it premieres and all that stuff. So my impetus for making the Hye Yun web series was like, okay, whatever the next thing I make, I'm just going to put it up online. And at that time, I was influenced by other web series like F to Seventh and just a lot of like New York-based shows. And I was obsessed with Louis C.K.'s show. And I grew up mostly in Korea, so I didn't really grow up with stand-up comedy. So kind of watching Louis' show was like a deep dive into stand-up comedy. So I was just like really like hungry for it, going to open mics myself. So I said, what if I do what Louis C.K. does, like write something, direct it, and act a version of myself. So the log line of the show is it's Hye Yun is a comedy about an angry, whimsical Korean woman. And yeah, I have a lot of whimsy, but a lot of rage. So, and I think I'm still pretty angry. I'll probably be angry forever. But yeah, at that time, it was just grabbing nuggets from my life and from my fantasies of what kind of things make me angry and make me curious. Yeah.
I remember seeing the first episode of your series before we met, or before I even knew who you were, the hipster racism one. Yeah. And just being like, oh, there's that. I've been in that conversation. I might have even been the person who was saying those things in that conversation, but like there was a certain
discomfort.
yeah, it's very uncomfortable humor, but it's also very like relatable. Like you feel like that's like a real situation. It's not like watching Friends or something like that, where I have no idea what it would be like to for your friend's monkey to, I don't know, do whatever the hell happened on an episode of Friends.
Yeah.
But you know, you're in those conversations during brunch and it's
yeah, basically, and this was based on what really actually happened to me, you know, at a friend's brunch party, and a friend's boyfriend, just as a joke, calls me, oh, a Korean au pair, because I was holding my friend's toddler child. And then in real life, so this is a little embarrassing, but partly because English is my second language, I didn't know what an au pair was. So I honestly thought that he was calling me there's our Korean old pal. I thought that's awkward, but I'll go with it. And then when they left, the kid's mom, who's a friend of mine, said, oh my God, that was a little weird. He called you an au pair. And I said, what's an au pair? And I went right on Google and looked up what au pair was. And then it's kind of spiraled into a thing. And I'm kind of dumb. So at that time, I didn't even know what the term microaggression meant, really. So it turned into like I wanted to have a conversation with him about it, but he didn't want to. So it was a gift. Gave me great material. So the episode itself was kind of a fantasy version of it, of me wanting to stand up for myself and fantasizing a friend standing up for me as well. Mm. Yeah.
It's one of the great things about filmmaking or web series making, same thing, that you get to like kind of therapeutically reimagine real life situations and have them resolved differently. I
love that shit.
It's been helpful to me.
It's great.
Yeah.
And when I was right out of acting school, I studied with a lot of serious like theater teachers. And I had this big judgmental voice inside of me when I decided I'm going to make a show about myself, which sounds like the most self-indulgent thing in the world. I was thinking, oh, that's not art. It's just me taking what really happens and like transcribing it, and that's not art. It felt like a gimmick, but the more and more I do it, I think it's amazing.
Absolutely.
And what's most personal is most universal, so...
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking about the first time Sean and I met. Mm-hmm. It was rather romantic.
Oh, what did I do?
No, because we met up for coffee and we sat on a bench on Eastern Parkway.
Right.
I loved it. We were just talking about you, Sean. You had reached out to me on Twitter.
Yeah, after I watched that episode.
Yeah, so it was just like that was the beginning of like me like really enjoying connecting with fellow New York, Brooklyn artists. Yeah.
So you guys met on Twitter?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if I quite knew that.
Yeah, the producer of the Hye Yun web series was somebody who I knew and had helped on a couple things, but I wouldn't say necessarily worked with. And she shared the first episode, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna click. I was looking for things to watch.
Gotcha.
And that when it came out, and so I clicked it and I watched, and I was like, this is great. And I started following Hye Yun and saying, oh, this is very funny, and then we said like, let's have coffee, and then we actually had coffee, which is always one of those things that happens. It's like, let's have coffee. Let's do that. Let's do that.
Like, how many people right now currently do we have ongoing conversations, each of us, of like, oh, we should grab coffee?
Oh, yeah.
It's
Countless.
crazy, right? Countless.
Yeah, there's at least 5 or 6.
There's different categories, though. There are the people where I say that and I 100% mean it and, like, really do and some, try to make it happen. And then there are the ones where it's a thing you say because you feel like you have to say it. And you kind of don't exactly intend
You never
to.
do that. That's good.
If I say I want to have coffee with you, I want to have coffee with you. However, it shouldn't be interpreted as if I don't say that I don't want to. So it's like, but if I say it, I mean it. I just won't always follow up.
Yeah,
Sure.
Like the degree of my follow-up is the indication of exactly how interested I am in it. I will pursue it more if I'm more like, yeah, we have to do this now. But there's plenty of people where I'm like, we should have coffee sometime, and that could be in like 5 years. But if I don't want to have coffee with you, I'm not going to say that. or people will say, yeah, let's have coffee together. Be like, sure, sure. And if I don't want to, like, I'm just never going to follow up on that.
That's funny. I think 80% of the time I mean it when I say that.
Yeah.
But 20% of the time I have great anxiety over like saying bye or ending a conversation.
Oh, God, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Whether that's in person or on the phone. So it's terrible. Like some of my friends have caught up on that. So especially on the phone, they say that, oh, like I have the most abrupt byes, or it's just extremely elongated. Yeah. So yeah, like sometimes you just like bye, have a good weekend, and I just don't know how to stop. So maybe we should have coffee.
Right.
Yes.
We should go to a buffet. Like, it just goes on.
I so relate to that. I'm bad with goodbyes too. I hate goodbyes. Like, they just make me feel awful.
Yeah.
And so I like to either do like an Irish goodbye and just like peace out without like saying, like, sometimes I will do that and it's not, I know that can be interpreted as being rude, but
I like it.
Okay, good. And a lot of people like it. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of my friends, like, we've talked about, and they're like, yes, that's the way to do it. But otherwise, I'll do that same thing sometimes if I just draw it out. And I don't know what it is. I just don't feel like I can cut the cord or something.
Sometimes it just goes on and on, so it ends up being like, oh, we should go to a Korean spot together. Like, this is somebody who I totally, like, don't have that kind of intimacy with. But
Let's go on vacation together. Let's make some plans right
Let's go
now.
swimming.
what does
go
that say
swimming.
about us? Are we just
I don't know.
socially awkward?
Probably.
Yeah.
I think there's just, with a lot of people, there's just sort of because I do similar things. I have a hard time saying goodbye, and I either get very abrupt or I just disappear. If it's a large group situation, it's much more likely that I'm just going to disappear.
I like it. And then I like
Yeah.
the text message. Like, I like the nice, like, oh, it was great seeing you. I had to run out. I appreciate it when somebody even does that to me. I don't think it's rude.
Same.
I need to do the text message thing afterwards more often. That's a piece of the puzzle I've been leaving out because then it's like actually a little bit more polite. But yeah, I think a lot of people just don't like how do you end a conversation without seeming like you don't want, like you're not trying to say like I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah.
I think that's probably part of it. Is just the I still want to talk to you, but I also don't want to talk to you right now anymore.
Well, also, you can't have a single conversation go on literally forever. So it does need to end at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, we all have problems with this. Can I bring it back to Sue Me for a second?
Yeah,
Which
you
is
should.
how we,
Yeah.
because I think I first connected with you through Christina Rhea because
Yes.
Christina Rhea was like, oh, you should meet Hye Yun. She like did this like short film about phone sex because listeners too have made a short film about phone sex. And I can say that Sue Me is, I think, my favorite short film about phone sex that I did not write and direct myself.
Oh, that's amazing.
Well, it's really good. It's on Seed and Spark, right?
I think it still is. Maybe not. But yeah, that was the first short film I wrote. And I had a friend, Rachel Grace, directed, and we produced it together.
Yeah, that was, you've seen that, right, Sean?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
I watched it not long after.
Oh my God, that was
watching
4 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about your film too. But that's amazing that you that means a lot coming from you.
It was for listeners, I recommend it. I believe it's on Seed and Spark because I linked it recently when I was writing a review of For a Good Time Call, which is another film about phone sex that I reviewed for Tits and Sass, which is a sex worker run blog, and I was mentioning other films in it that, you know, dealt with this subject matter, and I was saying, like, the one that I kind of, without reservations, recommend is Sue Me, and I believe I linked it on Seed and Spark. So I think you can all watch it there.
You can. You have to subscribe to Seed and Spark in order to watch it.
Yes, and you should, because Seed and Spark is amazing.
And you can then see Sue Me, which, you know, otherwise you're just going to be like, well, what's this other short film that's like the best short film about phone sex, not written, directed by Nicole Solomon.
So I have a question, Nicole. Do you see a lot of films and short films about phone sex that are bad and you feel like is just not authentic?
I don't see a lot at all. Of the ones that I see, there are a few that not shorts so much. Sometimes it'll like come in as like a subplot, but it's more features that I've seen, and there aren't really any that I just unreservedly recommend. They I like Girl 6. I'm a fan of Girl 6. Girl 6 also has a like weird judgmental, like kind of cautionary tale twist it takes that I don't feel great about. And they're just a lot where, it's inauthentic in one way or another. It's just like, that doesn't happen. Or, you know, it's like, I could run through now my like the canon of phone sex films and my feelings about them, but maybe that's not the best use of our time.
That should be another like special.
That could be a special.
Both of you just running through canons of things that you don't like. Or maybe that happens already.
It's a lot of things. It's a lot of things I don't like.
But I liked Sue Me though, because it felt realistic. It felt because sometimes there will be a level of judgment going on that I don't like, or it's not realistic, or it's like not rooted in the experience of doing that kind of work. It's more rooted in, you know, like Punch Drunk Love, for example, has a like phone sex subplot that's very much about this like certain kind of like male paranoia and fear of like women and women's sexuality that permeates the film in different ways, including like he has calls a phone sex line, and the phone sex operator ends up like running a scam on him in a way that like, I'm sure that's happened. You know, I'm sure there are phone sex.
Look at me. Like
we both looked at Sean.
Like I've either been trapped in one or done one to somebody.
I'm picturing you actually.
Obviously the latter. But
yeah, exactly.
I grew up in the internet age. I don't use the phone.
That's
true. It is mostly older gentlemen these days.
Yeah. So yeah, Sue Me is basically about a woman who's a painter, but she whatchamacallit? I kind of forgot what that film was about. Oh, so her in order to make rent, she teaches English on the phone to students in Asia. And they're like little 10-minute lessons, and she realizes that, there's a lot of lonely, horny men on the other end of the line. So she sets up a separate phone line and teaches English through phone sex. So there's a lot of like, let me tell you what titties mean. And she's very like paranoid about her roommate finding out what she actually does. But it turns out her roommate, who's a piano teacher, also has a secret of his own. So the whole thing was shot in my apartment that I was living in at that time, and it was great. It was like everybody was working for free, and we were cooking together, and super special.
Yeah, and the film has it's a very nice, I feel like it's positive isn't exactly the right adjective, but it's a very like human, empathetic film in general, like in terms of all of the characters involved. And that's rare and nice, and I think you captured some of the ways that kind of interaction can be very, I'm saying human again, I haven't had enough coffee today. The words aren't coming. It's very human.
Yeah.
Almost tender in a way. Yeah. It's not, whereas so often if you're, but without being, I thought, like overly romanticizing and like that's not believable. Like it's, you know, it's not that your character is some sort of like angel of, you know, sex talk or something like that. But it's also not portrayed as being like sordid and dirty and like, ooh, you know, like you wouldn't want to have anything to do with that. That's like gross and, you know, which like it can be. And obviously my film deals with the grosser side a lot, but also I tried to balance that by having some more like benign, like because it's not, I don't view it as something that's bad or dirty or gross.
It's connection.
Yeah.
And before I made this film, I was actually teaching English on the phone, and it was so bizarre. This was a Korean company, and a lot of Koreans, I can say, are like since like the early 90s have been obsessed about English. So a lot of people just want to practice conversational English with a native speaker. So the company that hired me knew that I was Korean, but they excuse me, they insisted that I pretend to be like a blonde, like blue-eyed American chick, so that the students will feel like they're getting more out of it.
That's
Right.
an amazing parallel to straight phone sex, because that's the same thing.
Yeah, so that's why like I've never actually done phone sex, but that was like it was based on that experience. And sometimes these like students would ask incredibly inappropriate questions. And but it was, at the end of the day, it was about connection. And I actually was really surprised by how big of a connection I was able to make with some of these people. I would talk like 10 minutes a day, and some of them like once a week even. Yeah.
But it's like this intense 10 minutes that's focused on this thing, and that somehow opens something up in them or something.
It does.
That's so interesting.
I had one occasion where one of the students, she was going through an abusive relationship with her husband, and she just started like sharing all these details, and I was trying to really help her, and I knew that the company was recording all of it, but then with my cell phone I called her, and I kind of confessed that I'm Korean, and I started speaking to her in Korean, like, I can help you. Let's try to like think about it. And I think she freaked out. I think the protection for her of like, I'm talking to a complete foreigner, was her way of like feeling safe sharing her story. So I feel bad that I overstepped that boundary. But yeah, it got so intense, and I was so obsessed and invested in how can I like help her. Yeah.
That's so hard when, I mean, we could take this interview to a very far away from social media place, because this is so interesting to me. But about when you have that sort of professional, ironclad boundaries of sorts relationship within which there is this space for like this very real intimacy, but there's this kind of inherent limit to it, because that makes complete sense. What you like, I feel for you in doing that so much, and like wanting to help, and that makes sense as a thing to do, but I also get why that would like make her shut down, because it was those boundaries that allowed her to open up within them, and the second that was violated, it's like she must have just panicked.
I think that's similar to what we do as artists too. A lot of times people who watch and experience the art that we make, like they resonate and feel healed by it because it's in the boundary of an art project. And then when somebody actually tries to like get into more like real life solutions, it shuts them down. And I think I respect that, like, that right now you're in a space where you can only kind of like work through it with the boundaries of a fictional art, or
oh man, I could tell some
we won't go
no it's so good, but I'm just it gets my brain's going, but I'm thinking about like, that's like on phone sex calls, like I could tell some stories about some of the like stuff callers will work through in S&M scenarios, but then when you have conversations with them about like, well, why don't you have a conversation with your girlfriend, which is a conversation I've had many times where I'm like, and they're like, no, I can only talk to you, and I'm like, no, but have you tried talking to your girlfriend? Well, no, because I can't, because she'll act this way. Well, have you ever given her the chance to react? And say, no. Well, maybe before you psychically think exactly how she'll whatever.
That's so fascinating.
Yeah. But it's that space that's created because, and similarly, phone sex is kind of like a fictional fantasy world that's similar to like creating a film that somebody can empathize with the characters in and be able to explore some stuff. But then once it's back out into their real life, it's like shut down. Nope, have to fall back on your various habits that you're used to that can keep you stuck in.
No longer role play.
I know Sean has questions though.
Yeah,
it's fine.
I know we're
trying.
No, it's great. This is what I love podcasts, when people just go on tangents, like they like get lost in their own passion.
Oh no! Stop having your really interesting conversation. Stop connecting with the guest. What is wrong with you? Oh my god! All the things that I had as conversation starters are so much more important. Let's talk about Twitter instead.
Twitter and I do want to talk about Instagram story though.
Great.
Oh yeah, talk about it. In
Just
fact, here, let's go live while you talk about it on Instagram.
Okay.
Well, it might not be good because I'm like, I enjoy watching other people's Instagram story, but I don't feel like how do you guys use it? Like I haven't used it yet.
I barely use it. Sean has used it a little more. I haven't really been using it. It never occurs to me to do it. It never occurs to me that like, oh, this would make a good Instagram story.
But then it occurs to me to like in just regular Instagram.
Yeah,
I
me
wonder
too.
why. Maybe it's extra. I feel the need to like put a catchy like caption or like put a little thing, and then I think then I like, oh, forget it.
Also, the other thing is for me as like as a filmmaker, I feel like anytime I'm doing video, like some pressure to have it not look like shit. Mm-hmm. And if you're just doing like a little Instagram story, like the amount of time it takes to like set up the shot so it like looks good or whatever, I get, neurotically overwhelmed and I'm like, just never mind.
But I do want to try it because I'm all about trying stuff out. But I think it's also like coordination. A lot of people are good at like interacting and like doing, but then once I start interacting, like this phone goes over here, so then I just get a shot of like the sky, not what's happening here. Catcalling sucks.
Yeah.
Shouting this out. Diana owes My Lingerie Play shirt. Check her out at mylingerieplay.com.
Good job on the Instagram stories. You just turned that into a promo reel. It's good.
Well,
It's good.
this is the first time I've experimented with Instagram Live.
Oh, is that here too?
That's what I'm doing.
Oh,
It'll
so it's
disappear.
Not a story. It's live.
This isn't a story. This is the live, which appears in the same spots as the story.
Which another thing I haven't used.
Confusing.
Yeah, this is like Periscope, basically.
Yeah.
Like Snapchat.
No.
No.
Stories
No, the stories is like
Stories
Snapchat.
is like
Oh.
Snapchat. This is like Periscope or Facebook Live more.
So
Yeah.
basically, there's whenever there's a new app, all the other companies just, what do you call it?
Copy?
Copy it and add on to it.
I hate it, personally. Because it's like, why does every platform want to be every platform? It's like every social media
Yeah.
platform needs to do everything that every other one is doing, I guess, because they
It's
want...
competition.
Yeah, and I mean, I get, like, Facebook wants to have a monopoly, right? Facebook wants to be, as I've said before, AOL in the 90s, basically.
Yeah.
You get your internet through Facebook is kind of what they want. And that's why their algorithm is designed to, like, encourage you to upload your content directly to Facebook. So you don't, like, have to go to YouTube to watch a video. You're just watching it on Facebook. You're getting your live
Right.
streams on Facebook. You're getting your photos on Facebook. You're reading articles through the weird Facebook link of when you post things to Facebook that does something, I don't know exactly what, that like gives Facebook more Facebookiness. I don't know. Now I'm caffeinated. Woo.
Are you still recording?
Well, it's not even recording. I think that's the difference with the Instagram Live. My understanding is once I hit end, it just disappears.
Nobody watches it.
Well, actually, a couple people have looked at it.
Hi.
All Things Soundgarden, who won one of that little contest of
Chris
photo
of Chris Cornell, I believe.
Yeah, Chris Cornell.
Chris and Chris.
And Christina Rhea joined for like a second, and then she disappeared. And then somebody who I don't know who they are showed up, and also it was gone. So nobody's looking at it right now. But I'm just like panning between the two of you, and it's
All right.
interesting. I just haven't played with it before, and since you mentioned the Instagram stories,
Yeah.
and I was thinking like, let's play with this because it will disappear supposedly.
Well, you guys have been doing this for a while, and you've like garnered an audience. And how has it been for you in the last year since starting the podcast and forming the company? Like, well, that's a vague question. Has your relationship to social media changed since you started partnering together for 4 Mile Circus?
I mean, for me, I think it's become like it's sort of the same thing where it is both sort of entertaining, but also a task of doing business, which mine has been, like particularly something like Facebook, which I do not particularly care for the manner of interaction there is in Facebook. Like I've maintained Facebook for years because of both like just having sort of a vague connection to people who like I used to go to high school with, who maybe we want to talk about something at some point, but usually not, or just like, well, I have a project coming up, and that's a way that people connect. Twitter has always been the only one where I actually liked being conversational. Instagram, I didn't grow up like taking a whole lot of pictures anyway. Like I don't have a whole lot of pictures, so even now it's like, oh yeah, I should take a picture of this, or I should do a stream of this or that. Like it's not part of my backdrop. So Twitter, but I think in certain respects, like it became a little easier because as far as like the business side, I've been able to separate a little bit more of like my personal Twitter account from the business account, and also just be able to say like share the responsibility of doing things, and also have like a separate brain. Like I can take over doing certain things like creating graphics, which I didn't do a whole lot of before, because like I was also thinking about like what the fuck am I going to tweet, or what the fuck am I going to share on Facebook, while you know we can kind of split the responsibilities, which I think has been like in teaming up. I think that's been the main difference for me.
Yeah, same. I think.
So sorry, I'm just gonna so you can edit it out.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
That is so responsible of you.
I'm not gonna edit it.
and then we can,
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I think for me the main difference also has to do with like having a partner that you are working in tandem with, because I've done like quite a bit of professional social media work over like the past years. Like it's been for at least the past couple years a consistent thing of up until like 6 months ago or so, I always had at least one like everyday client where I was like doing social media on their behalf, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram mostly. Sometimes more than one, but like, sometimes several on top of my own projects that I was, doing in a like semi-professional fashion, like whether it's because I was like promoting a film or trying to crowdfund it or whatever it was something that was very much like a scheduled work thing, not a for fun or just social connection thing. So starting 4 Mile Circus was just kind of almost like, oh, here's my new social media client, except it's me and Sean collectively.
right.
But the difference is before, always like the buck kind of just stopped with me in terms of like making sure everything was like cranking along and we had a consistent presence and we're optimizing things and doing things in a way that encouraged growth and worked well and stuff like that. And I usually didn't have anyone I was working with who knew more than I did, for example. Like, so I could kind of do whatever unless I had a boss who for various reasons didn't want me to do things that made sense to do for no good reason, but we won't talk about that. But with Sean, like there's another person. So if like I was saying before, if one of us needs to take a break, we're very, like, I think part of why we work well together is we really communicate and we kind of understand, I think, that both of us being good like helps each other. Like it's, so
That's so good.
yeah, it's crucial, honestly, if you want to have a sustainable business partnership or creative partnership or anything. So if one of us is like, can you like take on more of the social media load, or can you deal with Facebook for a month because I need, I've got this project going on, or I just need a break or whatever it is. We're pretty upfront with each other about that. And that's nice and new because I've never had that before, because it's always been like, if I don't do it, it doesn't get done. So that's been educational and a change.
Yeah. But so which do you use? I know you're on social media, but it's not like a main thrust of things that you do, unless I'm mistaken.
I mean, as a DIY creator, for sure, like the only reason I was able to get Hye Yun the web series seen was social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm on there, but I never got the hang of it. So now I just have my Facebook linked to Twitter so that it's not completely inactive. But then again, like Twitter is a great place to connect with people that are not in your like physical vicinity. Like, I made a whole bunch of friends, Asian American artist friends in LA because of the hashtag Not Your Asian Sidekick a few years ago. I just hopped on it. It was a couple of months after I launched this first season of Hye Yun. So Jenny Yang, the amazing comedian, got to see it, promoted it, and then through her I got to meet a whole bunch of great friends. The only reason I'm still toying with the idea of just trying out living in LA for a little bit, but if I didn't have those friends I got to meet through that hashtag, I don't think I could even imagine trying to live there. So yeah, Twitter is great, but I'm not so active there. But Instagram I love just because it's usually most of the time Facebooking or Instagram for just my own pleasure or just to promote work. It never feels like work. For me, it's just pure like excitement of sharing the work and promoting friends and community. So yeah, I am pretty active. I do have some friends who are like, we're a little sick of you on social media.
But you've also used, if I'm remembering correctly, you've also used like real in-person networking as well for things like Hye Yun. If I remember right, it was your acting classes. You pulled a lot of collaborators from that. What was the acting class? And
the acting class is
together?
My mentor and good friend Deborah Kampmeyer, who is an amazing filmmaker. She made films like Virgin and Hound Dog, and I was actually a part of the ensemble of her last feature film, Split. She's been teaching for ages, and I met her in the conservatory acting school that I went to, and she's been my main teacher for the last 8 years, and I just meet amazing artists in that class. So most of the actors that I cast in my films are from that class, and other collaborators as well. The one, like, I highly recommend her. She has an ongoing class. You can search it, Deborah Kampmeyer Scene Study class. Her class is amazing because she basically teaches actors how to direct themselves, in essence, because it is, especially, like, I think it's hard to come across a really great director who knows how to communicate with actors. So her work is just really amazing in that way. And I recommend this class to any artists, whether you're a dancer, a poet, a writer, because I think at the core of it is learning how to like bring your essence to the work. This sounds like hippy dippy, but I really honestly don't think I would have started making my own work without her guidance and just being in the space that she encourages artists.
And I mean, I can say from having watched you work on set, it seems like you're very good at communicating with actors and being able to get some really subtle work.
Oh, thank you.
It was great for me to watch because I'm not an actor, but I, like acted when I was a kid, and like I have a side of me that likes to perform, and I can't imagine directing something and performing in it at the same time, and watching how you negotiated that was really educational for me.
Cool.
You made it seem easy, which I know it wasn't. And because it can't have been. And you get some really just nuanced, subtle, like quiet moments out of actors, but that are really like grounded in like they're doing something. They're in the moment, and but they're not, doing anything showy or anything like that. And you just kind of like let it sit and let that show in the frame. And so watching that on the monitor and like seeing what you were doing and what you had done to get to that point was like a master class for me while I was on set.
Sweet. That's so sweet. It's whatchamacallit. I just hold on, maybe we'll edit this out. Let me just get my thoughts together. It's easy and it's hard, but I still have such a long way to go. I feel like this time shooting BKPI, because I had a great producer and like the most support that I was able to focus on the acting and the directing. And previously I feel like I'm just like hectically wearing different hats and just going with the flow and trying to be as present as possible. But yeah, I love that process of just communicating and a lot of times too, I'm not precious about my own words that I write. So oftentimes when actors suggest great ideas, like I have no issue of like just like listening to them and taking like thank you for that gift, if they're bringing something in that'll make the project better, the story better, it's amazing. But yeah, it was actually like it was this time working at BKPI, directing and acting, like I felt like I got my hands on the most. So it was really gratifying. I loved it.
I think this is part of why you were so convincing as a phone sex worker in Sue Me. Honestly, because I've said, and people are like, haha, that's a funny line, but I'm like, no, I really mean it. That doing phone sex taught me so much about how to direct actors. Mm-hmm. And people are like, haha, and I'm like, no, because it's about getting to that place of really communicating and a kind of openness and a kind of improvisational collaboration. Which, that was a big breakthrough for me when I'm like, oh, directing is collaboration. You're not telling somebody else what to do. You're opening yourself up to what they're bringing. Mm-hmm. And then the two of you are kind of finding your way together to what's going to make the strongest thing. And I get that from you, that you're like so there with that. And I think that's part of why, like in this little short film, interestingly enough, like this other profession that, and in part also obviously because you were doing the like language lessons, which is like very related and similar, but like that you were able to portray this other like specific skill set very convincingly because it's so similar and so connected.
This is such a love fest. I'm getting all tingly inside. Thank you, Nicole. Yeah, I'm a big fan of like, I'd rather just have myself or an actor speak something that it may sound completely monotonous and just nothing. I have nothing in me. I'd rather have somebody just speak from that place instead of acting with a capital A and putting stuff on it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think the best directors just are so sensitive and intuitive and catch what's going on. Like a good director is able to observe something in an actor that the actor himself or herself may not know yet what's bubbling in there.
It's a lot like being a therapist in a lot of ways, much like perhaps being an over-the-phone language instructor or a phone sex operator also is. Being a direct, it's about like getting to that place with the person and getting them to be able to like open up and not be doing like affected kind of acting tics or something like that, but getting, this is cliche, but like getting to the truth under that and like getting to that place of truth. And that's, I can't believe these words are coming out of my mouth, but that's like so, but that's what it is, I think. It is. When you get those scenes and they're good and you're like, yes.
And to be able to do that on set with all the crew members there, but like create this safe space of, okay, you, the actor and the actors and the director, like, okay, it's just us, let's try to. And sometimes when you're in, I mean, Sean, you've acted too, so I don't know if you can relate to it, but there could be a dozen people outside like checking their phones and setting up the lights, but when you're in that zone, when you really connect, I kind of get psych myself out and just think, oh my god, I felt like it was just us. I felt that way when we shot my character Mo's parents, intensely dramatic parents scene in Flushing for BKPI. Like there was a chunk of the time I forgot that there were people there.
That was intense. That was some intense shooting. And I think it's good because it was a good crew. We were all trying to give you your space. To like, you guys do your family thing, It
was so great. And we're jumping all over the place, but
no, you're fine.
I think that one of the favorite thing about shooting BKPI was just having so many women on set. And I know there are amazing men filmmakers and like film on set, and
I don't think so.
And the very few, I think like our set was like 90% women, I would say.
Yeah.
So the few dudes that were on set were so sensitive and like they were so there. I love them. Shout out to Kevin Martin and Andre. But
they were great.
They were great, but like just it was so palpably nurturing is such like a gendery word, but like just compassionate and easy and warm, and it couldn't have felt better to just be vulnerable. Yeah.
I'm glad. It's good to hear that from your perspective. It felt great for me as a crew member being like, I was like, this is great. I would want to be on set more if it was always like this, but it's not.
Never got heated. Like, no, like women, I think, like, also we were just joking, like women are just better at problem solvers at times. Like, so yeah, I would highly recommend, I know a lot of people are, I'm preaching to the choir here, but hire women for film projects or any projects. And I have heard some people make the argument of, oh, but it's hard to seek out women crew members.
Horseshit.
No, it requires just like a sliver of extra work to, if you are only used to the communities where it's mostly dudes.
Yeah.
It might require just a little bit. Like nowadays you have social media. Put it up on Facebook and people would fucking tag the shit out of people.
Also, really, you work in film and you don't know any women who work in film. Like when people say that shit, like I get it's like, it's just habits, right? Like, oh, well, my best friends are a bunch of other white dudes, so we're just all going to make a film together because they're the best, because they're my friends who I'm closest to and most comfortable with. But it's like, just, you know, look around a little bit. I mean, it's New York City.
Yeah.
It's New York fucking city.
Yeah.
Like, it is not that hard. I'm sorry. Like, it might not be the thing that comes to you first if you're a certain... Like, for me, like, obviously, like, most... Like, I mean, I work with men, too, but, like, I work with lots of women. Like, because that's who I know. Because that's, like, who I was fortunate enough to come up working with because of, like, where I went to school and who I met there and who I met through them. Like, it's pretty natural and easy for me. But I would guess, even if that hadn't been the case, it wouldn't be that hard. And it's such a different thing because it's interesting because when I first started doing video was in high school because I went to an alternative school where we had a video class and I took it and I was the only girl in it and it was like all dudes otherwise. And they were pretty cool dudes. It's not that they were all being like super sexist to me or anything like that. They were actually like pretty like totally nice and normal, but just that dynamic of being like all the girls took photo. None of the girls took video. Like you could either take the photo class or the video class and all the girls took photo except me. And it's this weird dynamic of I felt like, well, shit, I better be good because, like, if I suck at this, then it's, like, not just me, Nicole, sucking. It's, like, girls suck.
Yeah.
And, like, that's a shitty feeling. And I've been in that situation a lot in, like, film and video. There's a lot of times where you're, like, the only woman around. But, like, I've created my film life in New York such that that's actually not usually the case for me at all, and it's been great. And so if I can do it, others can do it also.
Right. Well, I for my short film the first thing that I crowdfunded, Abel and Kane, back in 2012, I posted a Craigslist listing for a DP. I knew a couple of people, but I didn't necessarily know anybody who I thought would be, like, I knew people who did like comedy stuff, and I didn't think they'd be interested in what I was doing, or they just didn't shoot the way I wanted them to. So I posted a thing. And I interviewed a couple people, and one of them came in, Rachel Saltzman, who is actually like from like, she has to like train in from like Poughkeepsie, but she does a lot of work, and like she's the one who shot it, and I think she did a great job. We haven't really had a chance to work together again recently, but it's not that hard to find somebody if you're looking.
Yeah.
Like if you go like, and if you do like a genuine like outreach for a person, because I wasn't explicitly looking for a woman, but as I was like going through the potential people, I was like, it'd probably be a good idea if my DP was a woman for this particular project, and so that's where we ended up. But yeah, I don't think it's that hard if you actually try. Yeah. Instead of the people who are like, well, it's just so hard to find them. Did you just look at your friends and not? Did you just look in the next room where your roommate is sleeping? Yeah, but there's no. I don't have any roommates that are girls. guys, all of the New York crew lives with me, and they all got dicks. I know. Yeah. I know because we were checking.
Yeah. Checking for it. Gotta check those genitalias.
Exactly. That's what people do, right? I don't know. I never really... The only roommate I've ever had, for the most part, has been my wife. So.
Oh, that's good.
And then we've had roommates, but that's different. I have no idea what they're trying to tell
But
you.
yeah, just to kind of tie it back to social media, for me, a huge part of a huge advantage of using social media is practicing inclusivity, which is such like a big fire for me to be an artist. So yeah, social media has its hiccups and evils, but I'm all for it.
Yeah, it's been, and other filmmakers we talked to too, like Heidi Moore, who we talked to, like got a lot of her crew for her feature film Dolly Deadly through social media. Like she had collaborators literally in other countries, like shooting stuff and sending it to her for like these little video bits they needed, and like met on Twitter.
It's incredible. My pal Kana Atakeyama, she's making our first short film. She's an actor buddy, and wrote this beautiful screenplay where she and her mother, who lives in Japan, are going to act in it as a mother and daughter. And she's in Japan now. She's shooting in a couple weeks, but she was trying to crew up local hires, and literally, like, she just posted on Facebook, and you have so many people just tagged references, and just like that, she hired a DP and other crew members. So it's
Yeah, because people in film use social media to get work, Like, it's so if you're looking to reach out, there are people looking to, like, take your hand.
Yeah.
That's, and I use it, too, for jobs, for when I'm doing art direction. I use social media for props a lot. I did for BKPI. I'm doing it for About a Donkey, Christina Reyes film now. Yeah.
When do they start shooting?
We shoot one day in January, and then we're shooting the rest of it starting in March on weekends.
Nice.
Yeah, it's all.
I am so in awe of Christina Reyes.
She is the best.
She is. The drive that she has, and just so brilliant.
She gets it done.
Yeah.
She gets a lot of shit done.
And it's so inspiring. And on top of that, I don't know how she has that energy. Maybe it's because she is a vegan.
I don't have that energy.
But you're a vegan too.
Yes, and
but
I do not have that energy.
Like the drive to get your work done, but also to like help others, her like community members, to get their work done. It's astonishing.
Yeah, she's great.
We love you, Christina.
We love you, Christina. Thank you for always helping when you
like
can,
you,
and we ask you. Christina's acceptable, Sean says.
You're okay.
You're acceptable. I would not tie you in a bag and throw you into a bag. So let's
Mostly because you're too lazy, though. Let's be real.
Also,
it's a lot of work.
Like she's tiny, but she's not that tiny.
She's strong. Yeah.
So let's wrap up this first part of the interview and go on to our, we call it a game, but it's not really a game, but we call it a game. So let's talk about favorite things. So it can be favorite things right now, favorite things forever, it can be anything. Pop culture, movies, TV shows, things that happened. Doesn't really. So what kind of favorite things do you have? It can be literally anything can be your favorite thing.
Can I go first?
Please.
You please do, because I haven't thought of it.
I am obsessed with dream analysis. So I have crazy dreams. And I actually yesterday just posted like a long post about what the dream was about, and a couple of people posted different interpretations of it. But I like to do that. There's something a little wrong with me. Like, I would rather sit and like ponder over the dream that I had and try to analyze it than go out and socialize.
No, right there with you. That makes perfect sense.
And I'm obsessed with slugs. I love slugs.
Huh.
They're how they reproduce specifically. I feel
that, yes, there's an amazing YouTube video you can check out if you search leopard slugs mating. They mate in such a beautiful way where, human mating is just so boring compared to that. And I don't know, I just love watching them like move. Yeah, okay.
Those are good.
Dreams and slugs.
Dreams
and
favorite
slugs.
thing. Dreams of slugs sometimes.
Yes, on Friday night I had a dream where there were like hundreds of slugs in it.
Was that good or bad?
It was good. It was
okay.
Good. Very beautiful slugs, yeah.
Okay, good.
I don't really dream, and I don't particularly care for slugs, so but it's okay.
My favorite thing is my new niece.
Aww.
Oh.
Yeah, that's your cue. That's your cue.
Cue, Sean. You're supposed to and
She's
something nice.
She's my favorite thing. My other favorite thing is complaining about Batman versus Superman, which I just watched, and I'm still complaining about it.
Yeah, but like you chose to watch it. You kind of just deserve to have that in your head.
I know.
You made the choice.
It's that's completely true. And I made the choice to keep watching when I was like, this movie is 12 weeks long. Like, I've been watching for like a day, it feels like. And I'm like,
it was pretty entertaining to watch you live tweet it.
yeah, that's...
Oh, nice. Oh, I gotta check it out. Oh. You can your live tweets, not the movie.
You can see, you can basically get the movie by...
Is this with Ben Affleck?
Yes. He was fine.
Yeah.
He was
fine. He's fine.
But like that this version of Batman is now I'm going. This version of Batman is so shitty that however like fine or even sometimes like, oh, he did a good acting there, but like you can't tell because it's in the midst of this crap and it's so bad, and everything that I said was bad about Captain America Civil War, which I liked. I liked Captain America Civil War. I was just a little disappointed in how they handled the themes, or more like didn't handle the themes that they introduced. Right. And then Batman versus Superman comes up, and it's like the exact same themes, except it makes Captain America Civil War look like it was this really in-depth, like, you know, grappling with thorny ethical questions of governance and authority and blah 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 blah. And and there was this moment where I thought Batman versus Superman was gonna get good, where I was like, wait, I'm kind of into this for like 30 seconds now, where Holly Hunter's playing this senator who's talking about how like Superman needs to like come talk to them and like this is what democracy is and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, is this going to be kind of fun? And they're going to do the thing that Captain America never actually did? No, because then like a bomb or whatever goes off and Lex Luthor like kidnaps Lois Lane and the senator's dead and that whole plot line's just over. That was just, you know, to, like, set up the tension between Batman versus Superman so they can whine about each other for the whole fucking movie, have a really underwhelming fight, and then have this, like, other plot that nobody gives a shit about come in and take up another 12 hours. Right. That's Batman versus Superman.
How is Wonder Woman?
She's good, but honestly, people think she's so, like, maybe she's fantastic. I'm not dissing her.
I have no idea.
She was, like, pretty much the best part of the movie. Definitely. But, like, look at the standard. Honestly, like she got to come in and she's always doing something cool, right? And other people aren't doing anything cool. However expensive what's happening on screen is, it's not very cool.
I don't get it. Wow.
It's fucking trash because Zack Snyder's just trash, basically.
He's a terrible director.
He's a terrible director, and his, like, eye is... I'm like, how does this look so expensive and so terrible? The only similar thing would be, like, a Transformers movie or something, kind of, where there's, like, Michael Bay... a lot happening and you can't follow it, and it's like...
But at least Michael Bay likes color.
Yeah, no, there's no... Yeah. And like this, and it's cliche. It's not... And like, and I've talked to some people who defend this movie, and they're like, well, it's really dark still. And I'm like, yeah, all my favorite movies are really dark, in quotes. No. Like, that's not the problem.
These movies are not dark in the way that they say they are. This is my problem with some of these...
Superficially, just...
Yeah. There's no...
Just because you have a dark color palette and
we're
wearing a lot of black.
We're gonna growl through it. So
we're gonna put a voice distorter in Batman's mask. It's time to make him even growlier.
It's like to have that kind of a movie be made for that much of money, and then I recently saw Moonlight, and to have like be able to create that kind of a cinematic experience for people, it's like, wow. Glad we have our wide spectrum of choices,
But yeah, Moonlight, you know, could be another favorite thing of mine, although I saw it a few months ago, so it's not as fresh in my mind. Did you fucking loved it. It's so good. You need to see it.
I think it's like the most beautiful movie I've seen in my adult life. Or even like my whole life. I felt like it was such a...
They should teach it in film school, because I'm like, this is what a film should be.
Every single shot was just mesmerizing. And I love that it was such a simple coming of age story, but when do we get to see like that coming of age story of a gay black man?
And also with that kind of subtlety, you know what I mean? Like, it's not... They let the character just be the character. It's not like an after school special where there's always other people telling you exactly what to think or exactly what's going on, or like he follows a very clear, like, morally defined path of like has a conflict, has a downfall, has a redemption or something like that. He's just going through his
Yeah,
life
life.
and dealing with life shit.
Kind of like, I haven't seen Boyhood, but from what I hear, kind of like that movie. But
That's a Linklater one. That he
Yes,
saw
I
for a long
didn't
time.
see it because that was also
I
12
don't think
hours
much of
long
it.
and looked
yeah,
not
I
like
wasn't
my
so
thing.
much interested in it. But
It had a gimmick, and the gimmick was sort of interesting because they shot it over that long period of time with the same kid, but the story wasn't particularly interesting.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Do you have a favorite thing? Did you do one?
I haven't done one.
What's your favorite thing?
Hellevator, which is a...
Oh, I haven't watched that yet. Should I watch that?
It's pretty entertaining. It's a game show
Okay.
hosted by the Soska sisters, and it's basically a game version of doing a haunted house. So they bring these people in, and I've always had like a little bit of trouble with like reality TV that's horror themed, whether it's like ghost hunter stuff where they're always making shit up, which annoys the hell out of me. I'm like, you know what? At least if you're gonna do stuff like that, like be honest about it. Don't be like, we think it's haunted. You like whistled like when nobody was looking, and we're like, oh, it's a ghost. Or ones where they like set people up into scary situations, like with them being like unwilling or something like that. I don't like those because the latter one is definitely wrong because you can hurt people psychologically. People could also be like maybe psychologically harmed, but they volunteer to do it. They apply to do it as little teams. So it's not like an unwilling thing necessarily, but these people get in this hellevator, and there's a different scenario each episode with a storyline, and like one was an H.H. Holmes based one, the Chicago serial killer with the hotel with all the secret rooms.
Pro tip: don't watch the documentary about him on Netflix. It's not that great.
No, it's
okay.
Probably the same one that's on Amazon, which we watched, which is just sort of cheap. It's from like the 90s, and it's all 4:3 and stuff
yes,
like that. Yeah,
I watched that.
I think that's the one.
Where can you watch Hellevator?
You can watch Hellevator on Hulu. Goes all the way up to the current season 2, and I think only the first season is on Netflix. But you can watch them on both, and they're in about an hour long. And I like game shows where like people can win stuff, and they're winning money in this, and that's nice. It's got the horror theme, which is kind of fun, and the hosts, the sisters, are sort of they're antagonistic in a way. They're in like another room. They're in like a control room and taunting the people and making fun of them in ways that are sort of fun. But it's sort of different than the usual host dynamic where the host is encouraging or something like that. So it was sort of a fun thing that we watched through last week. Hellevator.
Cool.
So
Sounds good.
cool.
Did you guys hear about that fucked up like reality game show in Russia where they like let people in the woods and they're basically like there are no rules. I mean, if it's illegal, everything's being filmed. So I think this is partly promotional gimmick, but they specifically are like, we're not going to step in and prevent specifically rape and murder from happening, but everything's on film, so if you do something criminal, the police are going to come get you.
That's crazy.
It's just the whole thing. I'm like, oh, like just fuck you.
What's going on in Russia?
What's going on in the whole world, man? Like, I've heard of other like game shows that weren't quite that extreme, but I remember hearing about one in Japan. There was like This American Life about it, where I think it was Japan, where the guy like was like isolated in a house for like a year or something, and had like do challenges to get any kind of human contact, and he really like unraveled. Like it like destroyed, like he was not okay, and this was national entertainment, and that's not okay. Which I don't think that's the same as like, I'm willing to take a risk. I know I'm signing up for like this extreme haunted house thing.
Yeah, which only lasts in like an hour.
Yeah. Like if
I would sign up for that if there was money in it.
Yeah, if you're
like $50,000 potentially.
And just as long as it's genuinely informed consent, like you know what you're signing up for.
Yeah.
Like I know you don't know what they're going to do to you exactly, but you know the parameters. But like yeah, let's go do Survivor out in the woods and maybe you get raped or murdered and, like, you know, watch out because the cops will get you. But the show being, like, you have to sign a waiver, basically, that you can't sue the show. Like, anything that happens to you. And I think my guess is they're spinning it for PR purposes.
Yeah.
And that it's actually not as dissimilar from other awful, immoral shows as they're trying to spin it as. But the fact that they're even spinning that for PR is, like, so horrific to me. Like, watch this, you might see someone get raped. Like, why are you doing that? That is not something we need in the world.
No. See, and it's frustrating when they're like, oh, we're going to come up with all these games. There are some games that they haven't done as, like, TV shows that I think would do very well, like Capture the Flag. You know, simple kids games like Capture the Flag. Like, imagine, like, a paintball survivalist sort of twist on Capture the Flag, or an urban Capture the Flag.
Yeah.
Or grown-up hide and seek.
Yeah, that's
hide
good.
and seek.
Use GoPros, but maybe it's somewhere weird.
That would be an entertaining web show too. Like,
What if you did that in a haunted house?
Hide
Like
and
hide
seek.
and seek in
I'm
a
sure
haunted
that's
house.
been done,
You would
right?
think. It should have
There's
been.
got to be like a TV version of it though. Like,
Or like Tompkins Square Park.
Yeah.
At night.
That could be
Pretty
like,
much any of the parks at night.
Yeah.
Well, so those are the favorite things.
Yay!
Let's just a reminder to anybody listening that if you're in the New York area, you can join. Nicole and I will be teaching a social media and crowdfunding strategies and realities workshop at Videology in Brooklyn on January 28th at 1 o'clock. You can learn more about that workshop at 4milescircus.com/workshops.
You should get tickets in advance. It's going to be really good. When you look it up, you can see what other people have said about our workshops because supposedly they help people. Yeah. So you could be helped if you or if you're thinking about crowdfunding in 2017, or you just need to like step up your social media presence professionally or personally for your brand or product or yourself as somebody looking to get hired or whatever it may be.
Now, how do you gauge social media presence? Do you guys assess that with like the number of following?
It's a combination of things. We actually have an audit. That's another service people can get from us that's like more mathematical and scientific, where we plug in a bunch of different stats from different social media platforms, and it actually like spits out like, here's where you are in terms of this. Here's what we suggest you do. Here's where you are in terms of this. Like, you have like your ratio of people you're following to people following you back is really good. If you want to up that, here are some suggestions.
That's cool.
Like there's a bunch of different metrics that we would use to gauge it. So followers is part of it, but it's also like what kind of engagement you're getting, like how frequently you're posting, like how people are reacting to what you post. Like,
I'm sure a lot of people would be interested in finding that out.
Yeah.
yeah.
Me too. I'd be interested in finding that out. I should
Same.
plug my stuff into there.
Yeah, we both should. We actually haven't tested our own personal.
Do that and then like kind of like make a video or to do an episode about that.
We'll be like, look how we learned how we actually kind of suck.
No, we're awesome. And that's why people should come to the workshop.
Edit that out. We are, yeah.
I have like 12 Twitter accounts, though. It depends which one. Some are doing quite well. Some are a little maybe neglected. Yeah. But
speaking of accounts, where can people find you online?
They can find me on Instagram. My handle is... What's my handle?
Isn't it Hye Yun?
So I have this weird thing where my Twitter one is different.
I think your Twitter one is...
I signed up too late for... Oh, so on Instagram, I'm at Hye Yun, so HeyHyeYun. And on Twitter, those two are switched. But don't worry about that. Just, I'm on Instagram and on Facebook. You can check out both seasons of my web series Hye Yun at heyhyun.com. And we're gonna figure out when my new show BKPI is coming out with the producing company Super Deluxe. So stay tuned for that. I imagine early next year.
Sweet.
We'll launch it. And yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
Awesome.
And we're 4 Mile Circus. That's 4milescircus.com. Twitter 4 Mile Circus. Facebook 4 Mile Circus. Instagram 4 Mile Circus. And we'll be back in the next episode with a little bit more with Hye Yun Park, where we'll be talking about funding and her projects. Goodbye. If you like what you heard, please subscribe on iTunes or your podcast platform of choice, and check out other 4 Mile Circus services and projects at 4milecircus.com, as well as 4 Mile Circus on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Watch our first VOD release, Nicole's award-winning feminist phone sex horror comedy Small Talk, at 4milecircus.com/store,